Hello, everyone, wherever you are. I'm glad you're here. I'm not a critic, and today we are going to be talking about what to watch during quarantine. Let's get into it. Now, today I have a very special guest today. His name is Animation and Whatnot. Please check him out on his social with the same handle. His website, AnimationandWhatNot.com, and he also has another website called Southern California site for anybody who living in Southern California or anybody interested in visiting Southern California after the quarantine. He has great information to help you out. Animation and Whatnot, how are you?
Good, thank you. And how are you doing today? Not a critic.
I'm doing pretty good. Now, today's topic, we're gonna divvy it up between films and TV series. I'm gonna start this round off with the film. So, my first film is actually gonna be 2001 Osmosis Jones.
Is that the cartoon film?
I'm glad you asked. Yes, it is. And the reason I chose it was because growing up, I was born in 1994. So growing up, this was actually constantly playing on TV. And it wasn't until now that I realized it has Chris Rock, Lauren Fishburne, it has William Shatner in it, Brandy Norwood. So it has like an immaculate cast. I was kind of bummed that it got like a 6.3 in IDBM, but that's a different story. It's silly, you know?
Yeah, I really liked that whole series. The movie and then the show that came with it.
So totally check it out if you're out there, whether you want to do one or the other. Get into something silly and kind of get out of like the grimy feeling of a quarantine. So what do you got?
Recently, I saw the older movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. It's got a younger Leo, as we know him today in his, what is he, in his 40s?
He's definitely getting up there in age. You can kind of tell, like in his later movies, like The Revenant, he's becoming an old man.
Yeah, he. So if you want a dose of young Leo, I suggest you watch Catch Me If You Can. It's the story of. It's a true story actually about Frank Abagnale, who was one of the world's best criminal identity fraudsters.
Ooh, I googled it, and he's actually 45. So you're pretty on the dot.
I'm not sure when Catch Me If You Can was filmed, but I'm sure that's one click away. People can look that up. But it's definitely worth a watch. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I mean, there's not really a dull moment except for the maybe the introduction is a little slow, but you can't blame them for that.
I completely agreed. I watched if Catch Me If You Can earlier this year, and it's amazing how much like rewatchability it actually has compared to other movies. It's really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
This actually brings me to my second pick for films, which is actually 2015's Mad Max Fury Road with Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron, and Nicholas Hoult. It's very, very action packed. You're basically just thrown into this world filled with apocalyptic madness. George Miller is known for his Mad Max series, and surprisingly, he also directed Happy Feet, the animated movie. So you kind of
Really.
get like, yeah, I had no idea. So you get like the two sides of George Miller.
And which version did you say that was the recent version or the older version?
This one is the recent one with Tom Hardy. But if you could find the old ones, they're amazing as well. Mad Max 1 and 2, and they all take place in Australia.
Oh, well, I do love seeing Australia in films, so I'll have to take a look at that. I do remember seeing the newer one, though. Is that also filmed in Australia?
I believe, actually, I don't know. Let me take a quick look. So it was actually filmed in Johannesburg, South Africa, in the New Namibian desert. So what's your next pick?
Um, I I chose The Island for my number two in movies, because I've seen it so many times and it's still interesting. I mean, I feel like I could memorize the entire movie and still rewatch it again. it's one of those kind of movies where it makes you think. It really makes you think about the metaphors and the symbolism in the movie, and the actual events that go on around us, and the likelihood of these kinds of things happening in real life. You compare these kinds of movies to reality, and that's kind of where I was going with the first movie too. That one was truly based on a real story. The island is more of, it could happen, it could be happening. I mean, it's just, I mean, clearly it's not a true story, down to every detail, but it's one of those movies that could be real.
I like that. It's kind of like art mimicking reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And plus, one thing I really enjoyed about The Island was the cast. That's Scarlett Johansson, Sean Bean, even Steve Buscemi. Which, what's really funny? I'm starting to realize that Steve Buscemi's been in a lot of things.
That's true. I do forget how amazing the cast is, but it's an all around pretty great movie, isn't it?
Definitely, definitely. And then it's a relatively where like you kind of forget what like how long you spent watching it.
That's true.
So moving on to the next film is actually 2014's As Above, So Below. And the reason I chose this was because at first glance, it was the scary elements, the jumping out, jump scares that got me. But diving back into it, you kind of realize like the actors, they're kind of like underground actors, but they hold so much. They hold very strong by themselves. You have people that are from different countries flowing together, and so that's why I give As Above, So Below like a spot.
Well, I like your analysis of it. I'm not certain if I've seen the film or not. I'm gonna have to give that a watch.
I totally recommend it. I think you could watch. Oh, it might be on Netflix. You could also download it on YouTube for like $4. But I think this is a good time to talk about the different streaming services. Are you currently like which streaming services are you currently watching with?
Currently, I'm sampling Stars, HBO Go, Philo, which is a TV streaming service, and I still have my old Netflix and Hulu accounts. Been using Hulu and Netflix a little here and there, but I I think I like Stars for its movies. I like HBO Go's shows, the originals. I mean, and that's pretty big for a streaming service for to have quality originals. And then everyone loves Netflix and Hulu. I don't even have to say anything about that.
That's a good list of streaming services. I think you're 100% on it. You kind of notice some were more heavy with films versus what's it called like streaming originals. So definitely
Yeah,
check those out. I've been using Tubi, which is a free service. You're gonna have to go back and forth with ads, but besides that, they have a pretty good inventory. So definitely check those streaming services out. A lot of them have free trials, so if you get a chance, check them out. So what's your next film?
Um, this film I haven't actually seen yet, but I've been meaning to, so I included it on the list, and I wanted to see if you've seen Stargate Continuum.
A Stargate Continuum. I'm not familiar with it.
It's one of those space movies, but I think it takes this planet. I could be wrong, you never know with these movies, but it's not a newer movie either. It came out over 10 years ago, and I think it's just about, all the classic themes that you would get in something like that. It's got time travel, it's got a war going on over portals, and it's got a lot of futuristic technology and spacecrafts and aliens, and um, I mean, so I can't say that I'll like it, but it seems like the kind of movie down and watch a couple times before you get the feel of it.
Oh, I love those kind of movies because they have such an like a cult following of people.
Yeah, I think this one does too. Seems like a pretty well received movies. I think when I looked it up, it had a 90% of people liked the movies. That might have just been a Google review. I haven't checked the official review websites.
Dude, so give Stargate a check out. Next movie that I want to throw out there is 2008's Pineapple Express.
Oh yeah, classic.
Classic. I believe everybody should watch it, especially now during these troubling times. It has Seth Rogen, James Franco, Danny McBride, Craig Robinson. Is like what more can you ask for, right?
Well, the same cast was in This Is the End.
Dude, buddies are buddies. I kind of have this theory that they're kind of like pretty close outside of the studio.
Yeah, I think they are. It seems, I mean, at least that's the way they portray themselves in a lot of their movies.
And talking about portraying themselves, I think this is one of the first time that James Franco was actually kind of like goofy. He did 127 hours, which is like more of a serious role. He did Freaks and Geeks, but this time I think James Franco just went all out, all like baloney.
Yeah, you got a point there. He was pretty serious, even when he was in comedies before, huh? He was always like some kind of antagonist.
So definitely give Pineapple Express a.
I don't have any more movies on here, but I did separate my categories. I included a third category along with TV and film. I thought anime is something that, just at least a few of our viewers might be interested in. So if you're not really into the kind of movies and the kind of TV that we've been recommending, you might want to take this time to enjoy something like Puella Magi Madoku Magica, which is a mouthful, and I could sit here and try to spell it, but I think autocorrect might help you out on this one. There's not a lot of things out there that are going to be confused with those terms. So that's Puella Magi Madoku Magica. And have you ever seen it? Did I ever show you that anime?
It definitely sounds familiar. Is it the one where um I don't want to butcher it. So kind of give me like a little bit of a backstory.
It's very time jumpy. Uh, I'm not going to give away any details that would spoil the plot, but let's just say it's kind of like Groundhog Day. You know that movie where the guy wakes up every day and it's the same day. So it's like a psychedelic version of that where there's a superhero. I mean, that's just I'm really simplifying it, but it's schoolgirls who are in this Groundhog Day type of loop, but it's very very otherworldly, where there's other realms, and they're not just. There's no way to explain it with words. You just kind of have to look up a trailer.
I like that. That's one thing with
What it
animation
is.
is you have this different layers.
What was that?
One thing about the animation is it definitely has layers to it. Is this something that people watch like on Crunchyroll or is it available elsewhere? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello,
Where did it?
you're
Where did
kind of
it cut
cutting out.
off?
Hello?
Okay, sorry. I thought I was gonna have to repeat that again. Sorry.
Is this something you find in Crunchyroll or is it in what streaming service should the viewers be hitting up?
Um, you know what? Let me look that up right now because that would not be fair to leave everyone hanging. I'm opening up the Chrome. I am searching, and what do you know? It heard me talking, and it's recommending it right now. It says it's on Netflix or Hulu.
All right, so to give it a check out, Josh, do you want to say it one more time for the audience?
That's Puella, like Puella, Magi, Magi. uh, Magi, Magi, Madoka, Mado, Madoka, Magica, Magica. You see how crazy that is of a title?
That title is definitely a mouthful, my friend. Uh, but moving on, I'm gonna start digging into the TV series, and a cool one that I kind of recently stumbled upon, and it was on Tubi, which was recently added, was The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross.
Oh, I love that.
It's so calming, and especially now, like the reason why I wanted to bring it up was because it's a show that's very calming and very relaxing to watch, but it also kind of like it kind of entices you to try painting, which I'm a horrible artist. I give it that. Stick figures are the best, but even I have been thinking about probably grabbing a canvas and some paints, and especially now that everybody's like quarantined, it's a good way to kind of like get away with everything with the help of Bob Ross.
Yeah, he like created the genre. No one was doing that before him, right?
Exactly, he was an innovator at his time, and I think it came out in the 70s. I want to say, 1983 to 1994.
I have not seen enough of that show, but I know just from what I have seen, it's definitely worth the watch.
I think it was on PBS.
I think you're right.
So give that a try to anybody. I actually seen some posts of people online kind of doing like the Bob Ross challenge where you kind of like try to do a painting.
That's pretty cool.
All right, passing it on to you.
Okay, that's a hard one to follow. I'm going to suggest Arrested Development, not the Netflix semi-original series, the original Arrested Development. And you, I'm sure you know why I love this show so much, but to explain it to the audience, um, Arrested Development is one of the last shows of its kind. You know, I think shows started taking um, a turn towards political correctness instead of actually trying to be entertaining after I don't know what year, but it happened in the last 20 years where TV just kind of started operating on fear instead of trying to, be be good TV, And Arrested Development was one of the last shows to really get in there and just be a show that was the artist's vision. And I really feel like all the humor in the show is a little edgy, even for its time. Well, especially for its time, probably. But that kind of show would not be able to be written in today's world.
I definitely agree 100%. Arrested Development is probably on my top 5 list and then knocked it out of the park.
It's so worth it. I've seen it more times than I can even count, and I'm just talking about the first 3 seasons. I've watched the fourth season and the episodes that Netflix came out with afterwards, and you can tell that they were struggling to try to keep up with the greatness that was the original Arrested Development because they they have their own standards to keep, and you just can't mix uh, the show that was originally created by Fox with Netflix's standards.
Moving into the another TV series that I've kind of so this is more for the adult audience. So I was thinking of like what TV show is out there that has like drama built into it, and I kind of like broke it down to the first 48 on A&E. So the first 48 is a crime series that basically you follow detectives who are investigating real life homicides. It's on its 19th season, so you know it's been out for some time, and it's
Wow.
just is just an amazing. I remember watching this back when I had nothing else to watch on those rainy Saturday mornings, and the first 48 knocks it out.
Interesting. I I've heard of it, but I had no idea it had 19 seasons.
19 seasons, 473 episodes, and still going.
Wow, that's pretty cool. It amazes me when shows are good enough to stay on the air past well, past double digits anyways.
Definitely the first 48. It's, I think, syndicated.
Oh wow.
All right, so moving into the next category, what would you recommend?
Um well, I know most of the picks have been not related to the current events, but my next is The Simpsons because of its relation and all of the conspiracy theories that you can find in the show are just kind of fun. When you're stuck at home and you can binge watch the entire series, as many seasons as it has, you can pick apart the show and really see the context behind all these posts that you're seeing in memes and in conspiracy accounts and just people in general who repost these clips from these shows. It's fun to see what episodes they come from and what the context of the episode was.
That is an amazing. There's so much truth behind that. I low key think that he's like a time traveler.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know how they get so spot on with everything, but it's yeah, it definitely seems like he has access to some time travel.
And I believe The Simpsons is available on Disney Plus for the majority of the seasons and a couple of them on Hulu.
That is correct.
You know, The Simpsons actually is pretty iconic, not just for the younger generation, but also for the older generation. I agree 100%.
For the 90s.
Yeah, I think it came out in 1990. Well, actually, it came out in 1989 with the shorts, and then it fully take off in the early 90s.
Oh, I have seen that. That is an interesting watch. They look I mean, you can definitely identify each character, so they're not too far off, but it's a very rough, drafty feel.
And it's interesting that you've kind of mentioned that 90s vibe with The Simpsons, because my next pick is really hard, but I came out with Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Classic.
It's definitely a classic, and it was hard to pick because that early Cartoon Network era was just amazing. Codename Kid Next Door, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, even the Powerpuff Girls, and Courage. It's just so much. And I think if you have, I think it's Boomerang, which is a TV streaming service to kind of find them all in one place.
For a while there, Netflix held on to Courage the Cowardly Dog.
I hope it's still there and they bring it to other streaming services because it's only 3 seasons long, which I didn't realize.
Well, it's a really great 3 seasons. I don't know why they didn't continue it. I guess the horror genre wasn't so popular among parents at the time.
And it's so unique. The See, that's the one thing that really stuns me. Like, what if they caught that appeal? Like, the same thing happened to Invader Zim, in my opinion, is that it was just so odd for the time that it couldn't get that traction. But I also kind of don't want to see them get like played out. You know what I mean? Kind of like go the safe route.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. You don't want to see too many shows coming along and just kind of diluting the whole industry of that feel for whatever that. I don't know if you could call Invader Sim a horror, but it was very grungy.
Jonan Vasquez is a hero in my books.
Yeah, I mean, Invader Zim's definitely up there with Courage the Cowardly Dog in terms of shows that your parents probably didn't want you to watch but couldn't tell you not to because it had the PG mark on it.
And recently, they did bring back Invader Zim on Netflix, I believe, like with the film, right?
Oh yes, Enter the Florpus. That was I don't know if that was a Netflix sponsored film or not, but I gave it an a 3.5 out of 5. I mean, after I saw it, it was nice to see the old characters again, and they did their very best. But they could have done a little better, I think, if there was more involvement from Joan Biscuit.
I agree 100%. I don't know how involved he was with those terms, but it's definitely got a different flavor compared to the original.
Do that with Courage the Cowardly Dog. If Netflix took it upon themselves to buy the rights to make a movie, I would watch it, but I don't know if I would look forward to that.
Sir, what do you recommend?
Um, my next for TV um, is going to be South Park for the same reason as The Simpsons. They got a lot of nice conspiracies in there, but also at the same time, it's just entertaining to watch. Even if there's an entire episode that has nothing to tell you, at least it's definitely guaranteed to make you laugh.
So there you have it, folks. That's gonna wrap it up for this first series. Is there anything else you want to shout out?
Um, I think we covered a lot today. Don't want to overwhelm anybody. These picks weren't in any particular order. I don't see any of them as better or worse than any of the other ones. They were all great choices, and in the future we might come up with even better ones.
100% agree. And folks, this is Animation and Whatnot. Please check him out on Instagram. Visit his website, animationandwhatnot.com. You could also visit another website, Southern California site, where he has great recommendations whenever you're traveling out here in Southern California. I'm not a critic, and thank you for listening.